Good morning, guys. Another live trade session here. We got ES with a double gap scenario. Oh, looks like my screen's too extended. There we go. We can show you right here on the ES double gap scenario. One at 5018.5, one at 5017.35. So on the big account, we got another gap fill, ran about 20 or so right now that we've been in, and that's down here. Let me activate that actually, pull this up a little bit at 4990. And last time we had this happen, it just took a smidge to get back down, and we did finally have another gap that did not close on same day. So this is a big push up so far, but this is one of those things that we had talked about, that all the gaps do fill just a day or two in advance and so on and so forth. They can, but some of those bigger earnings movings too, and looking at SPY right here, just on that run up and a double gap, that scenario still needs to come back down to the double gap yesterday's highs. It's either going to fill on the top side of 502 28 or the bottom side of 590, and it's looking like we're going to fill the bottom side of 590 before it comes back up and fills that gap attempt, because the first day never fills. Second day, I'm looking for the continuation short. If we don't get it, that's fine, we just reassess. So looking at 528 here as the top, we obviously hit the gap fill right here in pre. Doesn't matter because it's pre, but as this comes down, we have an opportunity to come to this gap, which is yesterday's highs. So we're looking back towards 499 and 5 cents, and that would lead us down from current price action about 7 points. And then if you look at the ES here, where these gaps are, current trade action is right here. Those 1 and 2 are just about 7 points away, about half tick away. So those two guys are going to be what I'm looking for here. Starting to make a couple different gaps right here as well. Some smaller ones, obviously, but we'll be watching for that. A little bit of a fill back down. We're just going to set some orders out for the double gap area. That's the next volume area as well. So if it stays under POC, under a nice 200, has an opportunity to roll to this double gap area. We're in a very good roll right now for the lower high, lower lows anyway, coming from the +2 deviation view app. And as long as that becomes or maintains resistance, we're going to get that trend to break down to at least the center view app. Once we lose the center view app, it has an opportunity to come back down towards like a volume area low hit, which is right here, because we always look for something that goes into volume area high, like so. And then if it loses POC here in the red, it can come back down to yesterday's low. So that whole trade will take place here in the pre-market, hopefully. And let's watch this thing play out. It's back up here on the top. And usually what I like to do is set it and forget it. You know, stops will be at highs like usual. Probably won't get up that high at all, but we got 4 contracts just barely cruising on the roll over here. I'll probably just set some orders for just above the gap, like always, 5019, and get about 4.5, 5 points out of the 4 contracts. Be about 800 to $1,000 here. So let's watch the trade call go. All right, guys. As you can see, we're still in the exact same trade. We have not changed up. We've only added the contracts on ES. It has been quite the hold time here as the gap setup pertains to wanting to fill. So you can see some of my first starter entries here on the rollovers. 1, 2, 3. Been holding through all of this jam right here. We got more ads right here. And just taking her slow. We're back into profit, obviously, right now. Been holding plus or minus. We're going to go for the gaps, hopefully pre-data. We don't really like to hold through data, but this one is, it's again, kind of an easy one. So if I have to cut out, at least we can cut out green now before data. I was hoping for the quick wash down to the gaps before data. we got 9 minutes. Not that I can't get down there and have a nice panic wash into data, but a lot of the times we get data run-ups. So I'm not adverse to getting a little bit of a magnet down to the 666 right here. And again, we have not faltered. We have not changed up trade plan one bit. We have entered here, 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 here. Well, we got 3, 1, kind of hard to see, 1. But you'll see where all of these are once I close out positions. I've just been adding. There's no closes, or the lines would connect to the close. So just wide open right now. And again, I want to see this kind of speed up. And again, you could just see my average line is perfectly apparently the support line. That's how it usually works, right? So we have had some beautiful, this is where the start of the trade was. And we're just, you know, profit, 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 and profit. So every time we get just a taste of green, the market reverses back up, which is fine. That's not a big deal. The target will still stay intact, and yeah, confidence is still there. The trade has to, the algos have to perform, especially with a double gap here. Single gaps, not so much. We do have that single gap that's still way down here, 4990. So I'm hoping the rest of the day for the sells, or if we get the gap, and like we explained in the first part of the video with the touching the SPY here, we might have to wait for that gap fill and that double push, because the only bad part about those double pushes where it comes to, you know, double gapping like this is the first initial gap and this is the wide gap. So it's going to pick a side. The market's either going to ram its head into the top gap fill and then potentially down to the secondary, or it's going to come back down for the first gap fill to yesterday's highs and then continue the fail. And that is the option B that I'm looking for today, because this is a grade A trade still. And yeah, even though it took forever and a day here, it's still gonna work out. Now, again, oh, the YouTube's, my browser hates me. There we go. So again, it's not like we can't get out with a little green here, and I don't know if I really want to hold through data. We got 7 minutes, and again, the sell has plenty of time before data, but usually the run up, you know, sometimes there's a run up, but now we can at least get out on the panic through the 666. Then some of the outs down here, where we're positioned on 36 contracts, we could head out pretty much anytime. So again, if I see my normal target of like $500 green, that's like $3,000 for the day. So that's usually a pretty easy target. Now that we're getting into the 666, we might get a little bit of static support because we haven't seen the 666, but what we're waiting for is a drain right through. We don't want to see the bounce for the next 5 minutes on the 666. We want to see that drain completely through, even though the metrics are all oversold. If we hit target, which is about $500, we'll probably close out prior to data, just because we usually tentatively don't hold through data, especially on the PA accounts. I'm holding through on the big accounts because we took trades down for the last gap fill at 49.90 on Tastyworks. Those are still red. We're down 2,380 something on those. But you know, all's fair in the market, so we will add to those positions, and it will come back down eventually, and I'll roll those contracts out on the ES if I have to. Not a big deal. But yeah, that's this is the first egg at 666. We're hoping for that melt, right? So we broke up to the 666, never back tested it. We always talk about confirmation here, so we're going to get the static green right here for just a little bit, and I'm hoping we get a panic through. We're at oversold territory and like so on and so forth, but just a panic through the $500, and then of course it'll probably go to gap fill. Well, it will go to gap fill, not probably. Down to that 5018, 5016 we were talking about, but that may be through data. So we might get pinned right here, get the little scam pop, because again, we're oversold for no reason and getting all of that jam. And it is what it is at that point. So if we don't get the melt through here, we got 5 minutes still data. We're sitting right at the 666 and we are super oversold. So this is max support. So this would be the smart trader way to get out right here, and then we look for that continuation down through data, and we'll be able to play a bounce at those gaps or the lower gap, or just continuing trend to that downside. So either way, we'll be able to get out green here. I'll be able to exit for whatever I need to exit for. The static is getting a little heavy here because it's at the 666. The data is 5 minutes away. These are where the algos start to get a little snappy, right? And like we said on the VIX too, the VIX is just generally just such an amazing look to the VIX, but it had a lot of hard market reaction, right? So this reaction coming down, we were just shying that one deviation down there, and this one deviation is a very good support. And we, again, you've seen the complete climb on all oscillation indicators. MAC was crossed since 3 in the morning. It was long. So since 3 in the morning, the market should have been panicking down right here, you know, and it just held the entire time, which is an algo scam. That's fine. It's nothing too crazy. But right now, this is the point to kind of get out prior to data. And we'll just kind of give it one more second here. We got 4 minutes, and I'm really hoping we get a panic candle through the 666 and really start speeding up before data, and then it can snap back and forth, whatever, do whatever it wants to do as long as we're green. It isn't going to matter to me too much, but I am trying to look for the $500, which is the targetable, and we will go down for those gap fills. I'm going to leave all the big account stuff on, but the P accounts, like I said, it's a little different rule sets. We want to protect our capital, protect the rules, respect the FAQ rules, so on and so forth. So I think that was our last attempt right there. You can see the RSI way oversold now. 3 minutes till data. Probably start bouncing here. So I'll go ahead and probably cut this one. Give it 2 more seconds here. See if we respect that 10 SMA resistance tag, and then a little bit of a panic melt through prior to data. Let's give it a few more seconds here. If we get out for a couple $100 green, that's fine. No big deal. I'm just going to let it go then, and
order filled
the trade. So there's all my entries, all green, last couple ads right there. And again, we will re-enter this and probably size down, but again, don't want to take any losses, and that's still 250 times 6, so we're doing perfectly fine at $1,500, $1,600. And I just don't want to do data. So another green little live trade there. It took a very long time. You can see all the ads and all the practice there, but it is what it is, as long as they're green. Let's tune in for the next. All right, guys, third little section of the video. Like I said, I'll be shorting all pops regardless of how high it goes into the 50-33 to manage this trade. The algorithms are still open back here on these minute gaps. Gaps are absolutely my favorite strategy to play. And as we added in, you can see all the averages there. All these green lines are the in-between. I play these in-between. Every time it pops, I'll grab 1 or 2, cover, pops, 1 or 2, cover, pops. And now I'm playing the in-between. I'm gaining PNL. Right? Boom, 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 boom. Every single time I'm scalping the upper candle section, because now what we look for the continuation down to those gap fills, which we should get for the rest of the morning here, is the double gap, right? So we're not going to open up above this gap. We're going to open up above 528 because we already talked about it rushing up from here, smashing its head into this. Talked about this twice, coming back down for that fill. And that's the option B trade, right? So what you want to do is you come to that minute chart. We could do it on like the default, we get a little cleaner. And what I like to do is I take the algorithmic candle of the data, which was manufacturing, retail, and jobless claims. And I'll point a fib to the downside with the high-low range of that. And as long as we are trending under 499.89, which is our golden pocket Fibonacci, we will have a chance to come back down to the halfway point and below. And that's what it's going to be, you know, a nice little win rate on. So all we got to do is stick under that. And we should stay under that gap fill regardless of where that pre pushes into, and come back down, you know, to some sanity, 498.75. And that'll be the further short off into the day, because I'll be holding through a lot of this stuff as we climb here. All right, guys. So second part of the trade here. As you can see, it's pushed up. Like I said, it's going to snap into either the top of the gap, right? And the algos will either bring it past here and then bring it back to the gap, which will fill number 1 from the top side, or it's going to come back down to the secondary because we have 2 different gaps. But this big ass pop that's going to come out of the gate here into resistance 501, 502 again, we will have a short from there. And like I said, I'm going to probably close up for the data like we did, and then I'm going to re-short all the pops, which I did. So we're up over 662. You can see all the entries and exits right here. Live pops through the data, fill, live pop through the data, fill. My average is still in the green up here, setting up for this lower high, all because these gaps and double gaps down here are still set to fill. But you don't want to hold through those crazy data pops because you don't know how high they're going to go. But once the data is out and you can find a reputable resistance, that's what I did. So these are prior highs on the day, right at 50.28, 50.29, 50.30. It's a good psychological number. So let the market be irrational, poke back up. We got really crappy data, but they're trying to spin it as good data, right? Retail sales is lower, so they're going to most likely take that as, hey, less spending in inflationary, but in an inflationary setting. But unfortunately, some of the other stuff right there, import-export was way off. Philly Manufacturer Fed was 5.2 instead of -8. So that's another one to watch for. But we'll just stick to the claims here, and claims are lower as well. So as soon as employment starts to rise there, that's even worse. But again, jobless claims are lower. Strong labor market, also not good. So kind of half and half, but still expecting the algorithms to fill the data gaps below us. So I will continue to stay short. I will stick to the plan as called on Twitter and X, and I will get this trade correct because the algorithms do not lie. This is an emotional setup. This is how they psyop you. They scam you. They push it all up, trap the longs, and goodbye market down to those gap lowers we'll be watching for. So I'm going to hold on tight. We only got one ES riding right now. We scalped 3, 4 in between there just for a few. Like I said, we stopped out at plus 263 across 6 accounts. We're up 750 across 6 accounts now. Nice and perfect. And I won't talk too much through this whole setup because we already know the setup. So I'm going to stick short. Doesn't matter where it pops up to, open, doesn't matter. I don't care if it goes way past my average up here. I'm still going to go in short on that next roll down because of those algos. The dollar needs to quit with the sell-off, and then the VIX is still in a super good support stuff. Like I said, we're going to get manipulated because of crappy earnings and so on and so forth. So I'll come back and update the play out in a little bit. All right, guys, last part of this trade I wanted to go over as we took in the morning. I did not get a live recording. For some reason, I hit the button. It did not work. But the last part of this trade, we were setting up right here, and I just told you guys I would short the crap out of any pop. I do not care. It will come down. And we got the slide, and boom, back down to the gap fills that we had called initially, right, in the beginning of the video, 50, 17, 15, 19. And we prioritized all pops to short. So short, 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 short. No algo tagged the gap. So you look at the jobs candle, retail sales candle, whatever you want to call it, the data candle. You notice how the wick came down and never touched a gap. So no fill, no fill. 1, 2, 0, no fill. So I again shorted, rode it all the way down to the gap fill call. And this trade was completed. We're up 7,600 on the day at this point. Ended up at 12,000 plus. Thanks for tuning in.